she starts ignoring you, the most common reaction most men have is to fight for attention, to over-explain, to chase. That instinct, to fix things right away, is deeply rooted in the male psyche. But the truth is that instinct often leads you away from strength and into weakness. You might think that fighting for her attention will show her how much you care, how deeply invested you are.
Stop looking for 50-50 from women. If you're a man and you want to go 50-50, go find a boyfriend and y'all gonna have a real good time, okay?
But what it actually does is tell her you've lost control of yourself, that you're now operating on her emotional terms rather than your own.
Why don't the men want to treat the women like pretty princesses so that we could treat them like our pretty prince?
And in the realm of relationships, once you give away your frame, your center, your discipline, everything else unravels.
What y'all men need to realize is that I don't have to bring nothing to the table but myself. You have to bring everything to the table.
First of all, salute to Pimp God, one of the pillars of the space. He begins his video here with Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson is talking about how we as men have been programmed to capitulate to a young lady ignoring us or not giving us the kind of attention that we might want from someone that we quote unquote love.
Silence, on the other hand, doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've chosen not to react on impulse. It's self-control in its most powerful form. Because when a woman begins to ignore you, whether it's to test you, punish you, or distance herself, she's observing your emotional response.
So this is why I'm choosing to stay single. I've spent my whole life in relationship, but deep down, I was never that girl that dreamt of a wedding. I never actually really wanted kids.
If she sees you unravel, beg, or emotionally collapse, she knows she can control you. But if you respond with calm, steady, grounded silence, suddenly the power dynamic shifts. You're no longer reacting to her behavior. You're responding from principle.
I never really gave myself permission to actually live the life that I did picture. A life where I travel, explore, and take care of myself solo. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for the relationships that I've had, especially my last relationship.
And that is what commands respect, not just from her, but from yourself. Choosing silence is not about playing games. It's about refusing to engage in emotional dysfunction. It's the recognition that begging for attention is beneath the dignity of a man who knows his value. If she ignores you and you immediately fold, what does that say about how you handle pressure, conflict, the unexpected?
If you had approached me a decade ago and said, you're going to be learning lessons from guys on the internet by the name of Pimp God, BGS, Coach Greg Adams, Black Ram 313, Obsidian, I would have laughed at you. I would have said, what would they have to tell me about women? But here I am several years immersed in the space, and I can almost laugh at this young woman here, because when you listen to what you're hearing from Jordan Peterson, he's essentially saying all of these actions, these histrionics, if you will, are ways of trying to get attention. And what you can see is that many of these young ladies simply don't have game, or better yet, their game is a game where most men are simps. And a man is essentially supposed to see this woman who's saying that she doesn't want relationships, but she's sitting here with her mammary glands exposed directly to the camera with an appeal for attention that is unmistakable. If you were a simp, you see this woman and say, where can I go to get her? But this is the key. Listen to her journey and where it's going to take her. It's very interesting.
Motherhood isn't for me personally. What has always stayed the same is this. I've always imagined myself living life around the world, taking breaks to build quiet little chapters for myself. But because it's not the normal path, I kept pushing that version of me aside until now. Yesterday, I moved to a new country completely alone. I arrived in Bangkok, Thailand, and for the first time ever, I'm choosing me on purpose.
Now, why would she choose Thailand? Of all the places on this planet, Thailand? Really? Who might be in Thailand? Let me think about it. Oh, yeah. Brothers.
Bro, where you going? Oh, look at you. Look. That's good. You about to go with friends? Have fun? Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know? Oh, well, you kidding. What's your name? Loon, how old?
20.
20. Say hello. What is up with them?
Serious question. What is up with the black men in Thailand? Are y'all okay? And I'm not even speaking like on a romantic level, but just on a normal, cordial level. Y'all are weird. I seen a black man today just walking, and just like I give everybody else, I gave him a nod and like a little smile. When I tell you this man looked at me like he seen a ghost, and I couldn't do nothing but bust out laughing because what is wrong with you? I get a lot of y'all come over here to sow your wild oats, but that doesn't mean that you instead be rude to any black American that you see. We are the minority in a foreign country.
I think there are a lot of different ways you can go with this presentation of this young lady who flew to Thailand just like the other lady, and she's talking about why she's not getting a certain kind of reaction from black men there, saying that we are a minority and we, quote unquote, need to stick together. But what I see this as is young ladies simply don't have game, at least the women in the States, when men aren't simps like we've been taught for so many decades. When men move away from that simp area and move just a little bit closer to the pimp area, many of these young ladies simply don't know how to deal with men that aren't essentially worshiping them.
Hey, what's up, homie?
What's going on, Goot?
All right, there.
Hey,
What's your name, Pete?
My name Big Bipple Yip Snip on the hoo-ha Hegler Yip Gips.
Can you imagine watching your girl getting by some mother and you gotta sit there and watch this shit?
As long as I'm getting some of that goo-ha smickle yang and it's the right amount, we can earn dang on a heavy gear.
Hello. Capital P, man, sugar free.
When you take a look at some of the norms that have established themselves in the black community in particular, it's clear that we've been pushed so far to one end of the spectrum that it's normal for, women to essentially act like pimps and men to act like they're being pimped. These kinds of videos where there are essentially 4 dudes cooperating with this one woman in this quote-unquote poly relationship is essentially her acting as a female pimp, and she has 4, workers for her harem, if you will. But if you realize that this is what's normal, then what we have to understand is we're coming from this extreme. And we have a lot of work to do because, simply put, 1, we need to move back to the center where men can establish ourselves and say, this is what we're going to tolerate and this is not what we're going to tolerate. But the other part, of course, is that many of these young ladies don't have the game they think they do when men establish themselves as not being simps anymore.
The key is to stimulate a woman's brain, to get in a woman's mind and make a woman like you from a mental perspective. The physical is not what brothers think it is. Man, I laid pipe. Okay, dude, you laid pipe, but a baby come out of the same hole that you laid pipe on. How much pipe you think you really laying if she can put an 8-pound baby up out of her vagina? So it ain't even about that. It's about this. Most men that are successful in relationships have a close mental relationship with their woman, and then once you get a woman mentally, you can get her to do anything physically.
These men don't want to go on no dates. They don't want to buy no flowers. They don't want to do nothing special for you. They don't want to take you nowhere. They don't know how to treat you. They don't know how to talk to you. And tell me they want you to submit. The f*** am I submitting to? The f*** out of here.
Hand to the face, open sign of disrespect, and it's done. That's right. What's interesting about these shows of behavior on social media is that it is a kind of pushback that is the beginning of really what is something that can't be denied. This environment is turning simps back toward the pimp direction. I'm not saying people are becoming pimps. What I'm saying is that there's only so much men can take before men say, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I gotta go back the other direction. And I don't think that the women are ready for this. Pimp God, if you don't mind.
In yourself.
I'm sure for many passport bros, running to a young lady like this when you're out on your travels would be a dream come true. This is the kind of woman that many of us would love to start a traditional family with. But trust and believe this woman has some game too. It's just a game that's very different from the game that we're used to. Maybe something that we need to not just appreciate, but even hone skills on is holding a very strong frame with a young lady like this one. We can get with her, and if she starts acting up a little bit and we start singing, then there's a very good chance that all of the work we're doing to go and find a traditional woman can be washed away just like we heard from Jordan Peterson and we heard from Pimp God. We have to learn from the environment that we are coming from, that we have to be more rigid, more pimp with ours, because we can carry the same disease that we're complaining about all around the planet.
If I tell you a mouse to pull a house, get a chain and hook this little ass up. Do it because I said it. That means, you know, my mama used to say, boy, if I tell you something, put your foot on it. That means she meant that shit. If I tell you a flea could pull a tree, hook him up.
A woman is not your